Hey everyone, welcome back to Mike's Monsters. In this video, we are talking full spoilers on Prey. I saw it at San Diego Comic-Con a few weeks ago, so I already have a review up if you haven't seen it. It's a few videos back, I'll link it below. If you missed it, I loved the movie. As a lifelong Predator fan since, I think maybe 10 or 11, maybe 13. It was one of the coolest weekends I've ever had the pleasure of being a part of because I feel like all of the years of dedication I've spent with this franchise kind of culminated into one night, and with it being a fantastic movie on top of it, I've been very happy the last week, and then seeing the reviews start to come out, and they're all positive, mostly positive. It's been very surreal seeing a Predator movie get such high praise again, and it's not something I was expecting or used to. My expectations were blown out of the water, and we are here to talk about that. If you would like to see more about the premiere that I saw and the after party and more, check out some previous videos. Like I said, I've got them linked below. This is a spoiler video, so this is your last chance. If you have not seen the movie, watch it first, then come back to this, because I don't want you to have anything ruined for you. There's so many surprises for Predator fans as well as non-Predator fans. It's just one of those movies that works for both audiences. It's very accessible, and if you've never seen a Predator movie, you can come into this one and have a really good time and follow it, understand it, not be confused. And if you're a Predator fan like I have been for my whole entire life, this movie just checked off so many boxes for me. I said it in my previous review, this is a Predator movie I've wanted my entire life. It reminded me of some of the comics we had from Dark Horse. I really love a Predator story that's told in a period piece. It's not always following the same storyline from the first movie, and it doesn't have to follow we don't have to have characters connecting and all this kind of stuff. This can just be its own standalone movie without so many silly, over-the-top ideas shoved down our throat like The Predator did. This movie was back to basics, refreshing, and like I said, it kind of blew my expectations out of the water. I was not expecting it to be this good of a movie. It's a damn good movie, and it's also a damn good Predator movie, and you add the two of them together and it just is something really special, and I think fans are in for a treat. So let's get into details, and again, spoiler warning, I'm gonna just talk about everything here, and I might be showing it too, so if you don't want it ruined for you, watch the movie first. It's on Hulu and Disney Plus outside of the United States. I highly, highly recommend it. I promise you that as a lifelong Predator fan, you will be very happy. Immediately we are introduced to Naru, and we actually hear her voice through a narration right at the very beginning, a voiceover that says something about a monster came from the sky, I believe. And that automatically sets the tone for this movie. You can tell immediately that this is not your typical Predator movie with the buff guys doing the handshake and stuff, which we all love. It doesn't have the campiness of Predator 2, and I think that's why general audiences don't love that movie as much. It's not like Predators where it's just a rehash of what we've seen before, but still very well done. And it's not The Predator where it's just throw so many things at the wall and see what sticks. And it was we all know how that went. We're not going to get into it. But in this movie we get Naru, and she is basically the centerpiece of this film. Because of the trailers, there was a lot of online discourse about her being a woman taking on a giant predator. And I think if you're one of the people that just threw this movie off to the side because of that, you're missing the whole point of the franchise. Dutch and his team couldn't beat predators, and they are giant men. He had to use a log in the end to win. So this movie is about figuring out how to beat the predator. And immediately, I think when we meet Naru, we learn right away that she is not the Mary Sue that so many online are complaining about, that I find very annoying. None of that discussion really made sense to me when they haven't even seen the movie yet. But she is very trained in medicines in the camp, and she's very good at it. She's probably one of the best in the entire tribe. And so when you hear her mother talk about it, she's basically telling her she's just not ready for a hunt. And regardless if Naru was a male and was just maybe a little bit younger, you could swap that in and not have any of this gender problem that so many people are so hung up on. She is able to take care of herself. She's a gatherer. She's able to track really well, and we see that through very well done character development. She doesn't come at you with the I just want to do it because the men can and stuff like that, which so many people were afraid of. She's more like a Ripley. She's more like a Sarah Connor, where she's just in a situation and she knows a lot because she's seen a lot and no one's listening to her, but she also knows that she doesn't have this call in her heart to be a medicine woman. She wants to be a hunter, and I have understood that in my career before. If I've worked in a really bad retail job and wanted to be out there taking photos in my photography career, it's something relatable. I completely really understood where she was coming from, not feeling like she's hit her calling. And that, I think most people will understand once they've seen the movie, is not that trope or where everybody thinks this movie was going to be woke. Again, a silly argument, and I think it shouldn't even have been applied to this movie, but I don't think the trailer did the movie any favors. We eventually meet Tabe, her brother, played by Dakota Beavers. Fantastically, I might add. He was probably my favorite character in the movie. Had a lot of Billy moments that I think fans will pick up on, some homages here and there, but he was just badass, and this is his first acting role, so I feel like we should expect to see Dakota Beavers in future movies because he killed it in this movie, and he is such a nice guy. Like, I hope he goes far. Amber also, she's so just killed it in this film. Her first starring role, her first lead, her first film, like I said earlier, Ripley vibes. We're gonna see cosplays of her, we're gonna see, I hope we see action figures of her from NECA, same with Tabe. She just killed it, and I think she's gonna have a lot of fans. She's up there with Dutch, she's up there with Harrigan, she's a Ripley, she's a Sarah Connor now. I think with some time, she's gonna be one of the iconic female leads in action movies, and we need to see her in more. We learn that Tabe is the best hunter in the tribe. He is next up in line to be kind of chief, I believe. We don't get a lot of time with her mother and father, but we do meet them briefly. We just kind of understand where the system lies in the camp, and we really get how it works. We get that there are medicine women, we get that there are gatherers, we get that there are hunters, and Naru just doesn't feel like she's meant to be the medicine woman. And that's totally valid. There are people that are just born for other things, and this movie sets it up really well. Like I said, that it's not a very Mary Sue or woke way of doing it. She just knows that the predator is there. There's just some monster out there, and she knows about it. She saw it kill the bear, and Naru tells him that she feels like she's ready because she's seen the sign in the sky. And he just, again, with the rest of the tribe, just doesn't feel like she is meant to be a hunter, not ready to be there. But he understands that she is very good at what she does, and often defends her against the other tribes members who kind of give her crap for being a medicine woman, not being a hunter. Tabe tells her she's not ready, even though she insists that she's seen things. We find out later that there's a tribes member that was attacked by a cougar, we believe. And later on we find out that that is true, but the cougar also is afraid of something, and we kind of find out later that it's the predator. But Naru gets a chance to try to take down the cougar because Tabe lets her come along, even though the rest of the tribe doesn't feel like that's okay. She gets a really good hit into the thing, almost killing it at one point, but she falls and knocks herself out, which then leads the rest of the tribe to, again, reinforce that she's not ready for it. All it was is that she slipped and fell, but realistically, she got a really good hit in there. And later on in the film, we find out that Tabe admits that he wouldn't have been able to kill the cougar without her. It's all really good setup and payoff. Nothing feels like, oh, she did it because she's tough, like so many of the critical drinkers out there are afraid of. Eventually, Naru finds a whole bunch of buffalo skinned and just dead out in a field. We're almost led to believe that that's the predator at first. At the very end of the scene, she finds a trap, much like she found that hurt her dog earlier in the film. She gives the dead animals a blessing. We realize that there is tension building here. This is some other threat that she doesn't understand. Along with her building her journey through the hunt, we find that the predator is also hunting along the way. It's almost like both of their hunts are going to meet at the middle once they hit a certain point, and that's what happens. We see the predator hunting snakes, hunting wolves, and then eventually the bear and other animals up until the point of it meeting the humans, and then it finds out that that's a better prey. You can kind of tell that this is the first time this predator has been on this planet because he's messing with everything. If it's got a violent streak to it, he kind of kills it. He watches the wolf kill the bunny, he kills it. He watches the snake eat something, he kills it. Well, the snake bites him too, and it's really cool to see like the snake bite him, and then you get the reaction to that. You see the wolf fight, and you have wolf with predator blood in his teeth. Like, I loved all of those little details. That was so much fun. Getting to see the predator kind of have his own character building on the side as Naru was building her own character. And it really felt like this predator had a personality. He wasn't just there to show up and kill and then run away. He actually kind of had a real motive there. He was mean. He was nasty. He was one of the most ferocious predators I think we've seen. And we get to see him do things like skull ripping and putting his trophy on his belt with the wolf skull and things like that. I think it was really, really cool to see the predator doing all that. And one of my favorite things was watching the little ant crawl up his arm when he was cloaked, which then led to the snake. And we also see the snake later when Naru finds it while she's tracking and realizes that this predator is around and he's messing with the environment and things are just awry. The animals are acting weird. And this is where we really see that she is a good tracker. She's aware of things. And some of the other members of the tribe aren't necessarily as aware as her until they're actually in the space with the predator and they can hear it or feel its presence. She's just seeing the aftermath, and she finds the snake later and it tries to bite her even though its head's off. And that's a really cool thing because Jane Myers, the producer, said that that used to happen, and she used to see that in her childhood and stuff like that. And you can look up videos on YouTube and they're pretty intense where the snake will try to bite you after its head's been cut off. Eventually Naru keeps on the hunt. She keeps trying to get better at hunting. We see her hunt some rabbits and fail, and that's where she eventually gets the idea to use her tomahawk and tie rope to it so she can pull it back instead of having to chase after it every single time because she kept missing. You think about it, that's pretty innovative. That's pretty smart. That's pretty cool in my opinion. And it was a badass weapon that she used. She was very well in tune with everything in her environment, using the grass to make rope and stuff like that. Like, it was just smart writing. It felt very much like the buff guys putting up traps and the trees and all that kind of stuff in the first film of Dutch's team. There was so many little callbacks to the previous movies that weren't obvious, but they were there. When she fell into the mud, I thought we were going to see the Predator show up and she's going to realize that she can't be seen because she's in the mud after she gets out. Only to find out later that she uses the mud to kill the Predator, but in a different way by subverting our expectations by getting him trapped in the mud. We still have the same principles and ideas that worked in the first movie, but we're twisting them and making it a different take. And I think that's how you do these sequels. You don't need to shove the lines down your throat, but the line like, if it bleeds, we can kill it, during that intense burnt down forest scene, I don't think I've ever heard such a good callback before. I don't love lines that come back and get to the choppa and stuff like that, but that one felt earned because she said, I saw it bleed. If it bleeds, we can kill it. Oh, it's great. Same way Darnold did it in the first movie. That's how you do an homage. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. But we see her eventually get attacked by the bear, and it's a pretty intense scene. I will say this is where some people have had critiques on the movie. The CGI can be a little off here and there because the movie's budget wasn't all the way there, and I completely understand that because of the performance of the Predator. Disney and Fox didn't necessarily put everything into this movie. It's a shame, but I understand. I get it. But that bear scene, what played out so much differently than the trailer. I thought it was going to just be the Predator comes and kills the bear right when she's getting attacked by it, but we actually see the bear and the Predator fight, and it is just very intense and well done, and it called a lot back to some of those comic books I was saying earlier. Things that I've always wanted to see, the Predator fighting nature, and maybe I would love to see a Predator fight dinosaurs and stuff like that. I know that's a lot, but like, there is so much you can do with the Predator that I think is interesting, and seeing it take on something other than a buff human or anything like that was just really fun for me. We see Naru realize that she is dealing with something. It's not human, it's not a freaking bear, it's a monster, and she tries to send the message back to the tribe and no one believes her. They just think it's a fairy tale and they make fun of her for it. Rightfully so. I mean, it sounds made up. I get it. And she doesn't have proof of it. So when she's later on dealing with the tribe members and trying to send the message to Tabe, and she's with them and they're a little rough with her, and then the Predator sees that and they attack the tribe members, we just get that satisfaction of, well, you should have listened to her. And then once you start to see them get the red dots on them and they react, that was fantastic. You start to see that Predator technology is primitive but different and still fresh and new at the same time. Once I started to see those red dots break up and not be the triangle anymore, I was like, okay, where's this going? And then we see that each dot was a bolt, and it was a targeted bolt, and they can fly around. It takes out the plasma caster and makes it a little bit different. It doesn't necessarily, it's still a one-shot kill, but it doesn't feel like it's as overpowered as something like Blaine getting shot in the back. I thought the Predator kind of got his butt kicked at times too, where he was bleeding a lot in these fights. These Comanche warriors put some punch on him, and it was really fun to see him be a little scrappy and have to fix himself at times, or he'd get bit by a wolf. He's not just gonna come in and wipe everybody out and then just walk away clean. He's gonna bleed himself too, and that's really fun to see how they do that. It's almost like how Naru has to go through her struggles to get to the point of facing the Predator. He has to kind of struggle to learn that Naru is actually the ultimate prey here. And the Predator is just vicious in this movie. He has such cool updated weapons. Like the net gun was probably my favorite. It wasn't even a gun, it was just the net that he throws, and in Predator 2 and AVP we've seen that it just gets tighter and tighter. And this one we just see that it just closes up all the way, and he's diced, and the log is diced and everything. And that was just, I mean, that whole scene in the burnt down forest with the French trappers getting slaughtered was so fun and satisfying to watch after we'd seen Naru be captured, and then we find out that Tabe was captured. Just was, again, more satisfying once you watch these people die. And in that moment, we learned about Raphael Adolini, the person who apparently gave the pistol to the elder Predator at the end of Predator 2, Mr. Grayback. I think his portrayal in this movie isn't going to be everybody's favorite. There are some very hardcore fans of the original comic that tells the story of how he gave the pistol to Elder, but I've never seen that as canon. It's a fun story, but I've never held it close to my heart. I know a few people are not going to love the portrayal of him because he's not the ultimate badass with all the guns and the lasers pointing on him, and I think some people will take that and just go the wrong direction with it, and it's understandable if they hold it close to their heart, but if they let it go and see where the story goes, I thought the use of the pistol was great. I didn't expect it. I had heard rumblings that the pistol was in the movie, but I didn't really think it was actually going to show up, and then it did. And then Raphael Adolini's in the film too, and he basically teaches Naru how to use the gun, and she gets to use the gun against the Predator later, and it's one of the most satisfying, for me, moments in the Predator franchise to see that. I didn't expect such a good callback. We see Naru use her medicine skills to help people throughout the film, like Adolini, who has been injured. He has his leg just severed off at one point, and she uses the orange flower, or the orange tatsia, I believe. I might be pronouncing it wrong. And that makes the body cool down, and it calms it down. I mean, it was very much like they kind of go into a cold shock at times. And it's probably helps numb the body. And we see that it cools the body, and the Predator can't see them, much like the mud. I thought her using her medicine powers, essentially powers, strength and knowledge, to do things like that, hide her heat signature, hide someone else's heat signature, help them heal. All that buildup releases to a really satisfying payoff at the end when she, we find, uses that to cool her body down, hide while she uses bait to get later the Predator to come after her. We see Adolini being very cold, and the Predator is there looking at the dead body, thinking it's dead, and then he steps on it. Adolini screams, and then he kills him. It's all great, and Naru in the moment is learning that she's able to hide herself because she's seeing that he can't see things until certain things happen because he uses certain types of vision. She's able to pick up on this stuff, that his mask helps him see because it was taken off at one point. She is so intuitive, and that's just how you write smart characters. It doesn't just go A plus B equals C because everything has to happen. It's really thought out. It's a great subversion of expectations. After Naru and Tabe escape the French trappers who were all just slaughtered by the Predator, she's being hunted by the Predator, and the dog comes to save the day, and we're about to watch the dog get shot, and out of nowhere Tabe comes in horseback with a Predator combi stick and stabs him, and has a incredible fight with each other and kicking the crap out of the Predator, and that's where they learn about all the heat vision and all that kind of stuff. But then we watch Tabe get killed. But he has a really emotional line right before he gets offed that basically says she has to finish it to become the next step so she can be now a hunter. And that is something that calls back to earlier in the film with the cougar. When she watches Tabe die, we realize that she knows she can't lose now. She has to win. She is so angry. Having been through loss myself in life, I would always want, if I could, I would get revenge on things like cancer that took my mom away from me and things like that. If I could have the power that she had and take out the thing that took my family from me, I would do it. So when you see her learn and figure out how to take down the Predator through the pain that she went through and through all of the trials and tribulations, when she finally gets that war cry out after she's taken out the Predator and you've watched her just go through hell and back and so much loss, I felt so many powerful, happy emotions. I wanted to cheer at the end, which I think everybody in the theater was, because I don't know if we've ever had an emotional victory like that at the end of a Predator movie. We always just get that sense of relief. Oh, they did it. This one was like, yes. I've never wanted to see a Predator die so badly because I kind of started to hate him because he was so mean at the end. While he was cool, I loved him. He was just such an asshole. that he was starting to take out people that I really, really, truly liked, and I wanted to see the bad guy go. And the Predators are bad guys in this movie. I know there are fans that really want to see a Predator stay alive and win at the end of these movies, but the Predator movies have always been set up as the creature is the villain. We aren't at a point yet where we can have something where a Predator wins. Maybe an AVP movie or story at some point in the future, but I don't think these Predator movies have set up a situation where the Predator can walk away at the end and make it a satisfying movie. You have to have the story there, and I really don't know if we've had something like that, unless you have the Predator team up with a human or something. You have to make it a really good, rewarding story in the end, and watching a Predator just come and kill people and then leaving, that's not what I want. The Predator killing people and killing and killing and killing, he's winning every single time until he finally gets to that one point where he can't because of his ego. And I think that's always where the Predator movies are kind of lost on some people, is that the Predator died at the end of the first movie because he was overconfident with Dutch and thought he could just walk up to him and stab him without knowing to look up or anything like that. We usually find that these Predators just get too cocky. And in this moment, this Predator was doped up. He had been dropped in mud. He'd been hit a few times by some pretty powerful weapons. And when she shoots him, and then finally he uses his own weapon to kill himself because he's so confused and pissed off, I just was like, good job. You did it. I wanted to clap. I clapped because I liked it. When I saw her walking with the severed Predator head, it was just like, I've watched a good movie front to back here. I cannot think of something I would have cut from this. In my previous review, I said something like, maybe have a little bit more Predator in the movie, but realistically, I feel like there was just the right amount. I could have even maybe taken out the shot of him standing up at the beginning when you see him jump out of his ship. Kind of along the lines of, I think you could have cut out the shot of the spaceship flying towards Earth in the first Predator movie and had the mystery of the Predator reveal once you see the hand pick up the scorpion. That was how I first saw Predator. I didn't see the opening shot, and that was just like a, what am I watching kind of scene. And I think you could have had something to play with there like that. But even then, this movie is just so tight, so fast, and so visceral that I can't really think of adding or subtracting anything, to be honest. I think this was also probably one of my favorite Predators. I've been sitting with the movie for a few weeks now, and I've always loved Kevin Peter Hall's performance of the Predator. But Dane, he brought something else to the Predator. I've been hearing a lot of athleticism, and I think that would be it. He just moved and felt alive. I never once felt like it was a man in a suit in this movie. And even with Kevin, sometimes I could get that vibe. And all the previous Predators, I just kind of thought they were like, I'm a big guy in a Predator suit. And Ian White did great. I've just never really loved everything I've seen since the first two Predator movies. I've always just thought everybody kind of mimicked the movements of Kevin Peter Hall. And I don't believe that every single human moves exactly the same in the world. So I don't think every single Predator should look and move the exact same way either. So it was really cool to see Dane have a personal identity with this Predator. And he just moved so feral, like they call him, so vicious, so fast, so just mean. And like I said, he just felt alive. And I think that Dane is such a gift to this franchise, and I'm glad we have him because he killed it. And I hope he gets to play the Predator more in the future because, like I said, I think this might be one of my favorite Predator performances since Kevin Peter Hall. And he's the king, he's the legend, no one can top him. But Dane stepped it up and he brought it to another level here, and just when it turns its head right, I would just go, oh, holy cow. Or when he's running through the field covered in blood after he jumps on the one dude that had the bow and arrow. And the way he's running through the field, just that was so creepy and scary. There's just so much of that, and Dane just brought such a good character-driven performance here. And it's nice to not just see him be a monster. It's nice to see him be alive and actually have a character to follow in this movie. And the Predator suit by ADI, I know that name is a little controversial. I'm a fan. I understand the criticisms that a lot of people have, but I don't think they're as bad as some videos on YouTube tend to make it sound. I think ADI killed it on this one. There's a really great use of practical and CGI blended effects that even Alec Gillis himself told me he was really impressed with in some private messages. He didn't get to see the film until the other day and was blown away himself, and it was really cool to see the guys that make the movie are also loving the movie. But he said something about how it was really great use of practical and CGI, and I'm honest, I haven't seen the movie enough times to be able to pick it apart, but at times it felt like there was a really good practical face with CGI elements in there, and then sometimes the whole face was CGI, but done so well. I know some people don't love the way that ADI has made their Predators. Some people have called me out for wearing their shirt in the last video and said my opinion isn't valid. I'm not going to say anything to you, but I have some thoughts. Get over yourself is what I'll say. They did a great job. They had the time, they had the ability to do something different here, and they did it right, they did it well. I think using the practical effects meshed with CGI is the way to do it. Where the Wild Things Are is a great example of that. I think that's one of the best uses of practical and CGI. And while I said earlier the CGI wasn't perfect throughout the film, there's a few shots that aren't great. It's not enough to pull me out. The movie's so good that I'm able to see right past the effects at times. And Predator films have never been the shining example of great computer-generated graphics. They had the wonderful optical effects of the cloaking and stuff like that in the first film that was nominated for an Oscar, but I don't think we've ever had a Predator movie that has had groundbreaking CGI. So the people that are worried about it should also look at The Predator or Predators and see that the CGI in those movies were never top tier either. These movies were really practical effects with optical effects, and they've really found a good balance here. The CGI of the cloaking looked amazing. I really loved the low-tech vibe of it, with it breaking in and out at times. The animals at times did look back and forth here and there, CGI and not CGI. I thought the wolf looked great. The bear looked great 90% of the time. There's a few shots again here and there, but with a movie with this kind of budget, I think you can understand. And if people can just let that go, they'll be able to enjoy the movie. I understand that some people are taken out when they don't see perfect CGI though. I'd really love to be able to see the breakdown of all the behind the scenes, like the special effects on how ADI made the Predator suit, the visual effects, all that kind of stuff. And I really hope we get like a 4K Blu-ray HD kind of situation that has all the special features. I'm a little nervous that this being on Hulu means we won't get a physical release, and I'm a collector, as you can see, and I like to have my physical copies too, but also because I like to dive into the special features, the commentaries, and this and that. I've been doing that since I was a kid, and that's also one of the reasons why I love this franchise so much, is diving into how the effects were made. These are effects-driven movies. These creatures pushed the boundaries of special effects originally, and I think we should also be allowed to see that stuff. So I hope Alec Gillis and Tom Woodruff and the rest of Studio ADI is able to speak on how they made this movie. I'd love to hear them talk on it. Same with Dan and the rest of the crew, with Jane and producer. I would love to hear more about how the movie was made. I loved the representation of the Comanche people in the film. It felt like I was just watching something I'd never seen before. And I would love to see more period pieces in the future with Predator fighting pirates or dinosaurs, like I said. And if there is a point where there's a sequel to this film that tells us how the pistol gets out of the chief's hands, that Naru hands the gun at the end to, and gets to the grayback Predator, I would love maybe to see that. But also, this movie could be done and we have a completely different story after this, and I would be happy. The music was incredible. I know a lot of people were kind of put off that we didn't say that the Silvestri score was in the movie, but the score by Sarah Sachner was just epic. It's sweeping and beautiful, and it really complemented Jeff Cutter's cinematography with the open landscapes and vistas and very beautiful drone shots and all that kind of stuff, and that music really complemented it. I just don't think the Silvestri score would have been a blend to this film. The tone is completely different than anything we've seen in Predator. It feels more realistic, this film. Predator, the way people talk in that film, that's not realistic, and the way things explode and everything's a little exaggerated and satirical in those films. And even McTiernan says that this movie is a play on norms. It's not meant to be like tough guys getting everything done right. They get their butts kicked. Overall, I just really loved this film. There's no such thing as a perfect movie except for Jaws and Alien and maybe the first Predator. But I just think that I had such a good time with this movie. I cannot wait to watch it over and over again. Like I said, I wish it was on Blu-ray so I could watch all the special features and commentaries and all that stuff with it. So please. It's a really, really, really refreshing and surreal time to have a good Predator movie right now that's getting the praise it's getting. I've tried to kind of give my thoughts here. I probably missed some things here and there on details on exactly how things play out. I've only seen the movie once. I am seeing it a second time tonight in Santa Monica. By the time this video's up, it's probably going to be in the past, but I'm getting to see it twice in the theaters, and I feel so lucky The second time I'm seeing it, it is the Comanche dub, so I will have experienced it in both versions in the theaters. I'm feeling grateful to be able to see it twice in theaters because it's only going to Hulu. I just also wish this was a theater experience for most of you because this is gonna be like a Fury Road. It's gonna have a lot of legs. It's gonna run for a long time. People are gonna love it. The reviews are really confirming that, and I think Predator fans are gonna just have a good time. The Predator design is fantastic. He's a little different. ADI got to do a lot more fun things with it. Doesn't have the flappy mandibles. He's got great face. He's just a little different. He looks more like a super Predator, and I completely understand that not everybody loves that design, but going back to Stan Winston, I think if we had him look like Stan Winston over and over again, they just start to look the same after a while. Completely hear your critiques on all the other Predators, though. I am right there with you. But this is one of ADI's best Predators. This is one of the best Predator movies out there. Dan Trachtenberg really killed it on this one. I really hope he makes more of these, if he's allowed to. I'd understand if you get tired of Predator after a while, but you gave me something I've always wanted, Dan, so please make more. Dane did an amazing job as the Predator. Again, I want him back. If Naru can come back, that'd be great, but also tell new stories too. I've been called a shill so many times in the last couple of weeks because I posted a review saying I liked the movie before everybody else saw it. Disney did not make this movie, just reminding you that. Fox made the movie. It also costs money to drive to San Diego from Los Angeles twice in a weekend. It's such a funny thing that I'm called a shill when it costs me more money to go to that thing. And I liked the movie. I hope you liked the movie and join the shill party with me and a couple other people because it's a really good party. We're all having a great time. I can't wait to talk to everybody about this movie. I've been so excited for the last few weeks and just giddy knowing everybody's getting to see this movie soon. And I am just so excited to watch it again. And to me, that means it's a good movie. If I'm this excited to watch it again, I almost feel like I haven't seen it yet. So watching it again tonight, I'm really hyped. I've got my shirt ready, looking like a shill. We're gonna shill it up, baby. I think this is where I can call it. I really hope you enjoyed this video. I hope I didn't ramble and rant too long. I hope I didn't gush too much, but I mean, if I'm gushing, I think that means the movie is pretty good. I just am so happy to have a Predator movie that hit all the right marks for me. I'm a very happy Predator fan right now, and after 20 years of maybe more longer, almost 25 years of being a Predator fan since my junior high years, playing AVP2 on the PC every day, hunting grounds for the last few years, visiting AVP Galaxy every day for the last 20 years, and helping start a podcast about predators and aliens. It just was so fulfilling to be a part of such a crazy fun weekend, and the movie delivered too. And that is all I could have asked for. So thank you for all who were involved with it. Thank you, Jane. Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Dane. Thank you, Amber, Dakota. Studio ADI, you killed it. I'm going to stop looking like a shill right now and gushing. You are going to love it, I hope. I hope. And if you don't, tell me why. Give me your thoughts below. Let's have a discussion about it because I want to know why you didn't like it because to me, it was great. So thank you for watching Mike's Monsters. Please like and subscribe and share. Follow me on Instagram, Twitter. There's a lot more coming on this channel. Lots of really cool, fun stuff that I can't believe I've been able to do in the last few weeks. So keep your eyes locked here. And thank you again for watching Mike's Monsters. Have a great day and enjoy Prey, you ugly mother.